Mom said wait here. Rich CEO sees a girl who has been living at train station for 3 days. One evening the train station was crowded. People rushed past with bags, trains arrived and departed, and voices echoed all around. On one corner bench sat a little girl, no more than 6 years old. Her small dress was wrinkled, her shoes worn out, and in her hands she held a doll. For 3 days she had not left that bench. Every time someone walked by she whispered to herself, Mom said, wait here. She looked at the entrance again and again, waiting for her mother who never returned. She survived on little pieces of bread someone gave her and water from the fountain. Her face was pale, but her eyes were still full of hope. That same evening Adrian, a rich CEO, walked through the station. He was passing by when his eyes fell on the girl. Something about the way she sat, still and patient, made him stop. He stepped closer. The girl looked up at him, clutching her doll tighter. Why are you sitting here alone? Adrian asked. She whispered. Mom said wait here. Adrian bent down. How long have you been waiting? 3 days. She replied softly. Mama said she would come back. Adrian felt a heaviness in his chest. He saw her dry lips, her tired eyes. She was hungry, but she refused to leave. Are you hungry? He asked. The girl nodded slowly. Come, I'll get you food, Adrian said, but she shook her head. I can't leave. Mama said wait here. Adrian sat beside her on the bench. Then I'll wait with you, he said. She blinked in surprise. He ordered food through his assistant and placed it beside her. The girl whispered, thank you, and ate quietly. As the station lights glowed brighter, Adrian Cole, the rich CEO, sat next to the little girl who had been waiting 3 days. Without knowing this moment would change both their lives forever. The bench was cold beneath them, and the lights flickered above. Lily sat quietly holding her doll against her chest. She glanced at Adrian every few moments, unsure why this stranger had chosen to stay beside her. Yet, his presence gave her a comfort she hadn't felt in days. Adrian folded his hands and watched the entrance doors, the same way Lily did. People came and went, travelers dragging suitcases, workers heading home, but no one stopped for her. No familiar face appeared. Each time the doors opened, Lily's eyes brightened with hope, then dimmed again when it wasn't her mother. Lily, Adrian said gently, do you know where your mother went? She shook her head. She said wait here. She promised she'd come back. Adrian wanted to believe it, but the thought of a mother leaving her child alone for 3 days made his jaw tighten. He lowered his voice. It's late. You shouldn't stay here all night again. Let me take you somewhere safe. Her eyes widened with fear. But Mama won't find me if I leave. Adrian leaned closer. What if I leave a note for her? Right here on the bench. That way if she comes back, she'll know where you are. Lily's small fingers clutched the doll tighter. She thought about it, then whispered, what if she doesn't read it? I'll make sure she does, Adrian said firmly. I promise. Lily studied his face. His voice was calm, steady. Different from the people who had brushed past her. Slowly she nodded. Adrian exhaled in relief. He stood and offered his hand. Lily hesitated, then slipped her tiny hand into his. Her palm was cold, her grip soft. He helped her off the bench, and together they walked toward the exit. Outside, Adrian's black car waited. The driver looked surprised when Adrian appeared with a child. The assistant opened his mouth to question, but Adrian silenced him with a look. Inside the car, Lily sat quietly, hugging her doll and staring out the window. Adrian glanced at her reflection in the glass. She looked smaller in the leather seat, almost swallowed by its size. Are you tired? He asked. She nodded faintly. He gave a short command to the driver. Instead of heading home to his penthouse, he directed the car to a nearby hotel. He couldn't take a stranger's child to his private residence. Not yet. But he also couldn't leave her in the station another night. At the hotel, Adrian guided Lily inside. The receptionist stared curiously, but Adrian ignored the looks. He requested a room and soon led her upstairs. The room was warm, with soft lights and clean sheets. Lily stopped in the doorway, her eyes wide. Is this for me? She asked. For tonight, yes, Adrian said. You'll sleep here, no cold benches. She stepped inside slowly. As though afraid it might disappear if she moved too fast. She placed her doll carefully on the bed, then climbed up herself, sinking into the blanket with relief. Adrian watched her. Something about her innocence pulled at him. He had built skyscrapers, controlled companies, and signed contracts worth millions. But none of it gave him the feeling he had now, knowing he had pulled a child away from the cold. He sat on the chair by the window while Lily curled up with her doll. After a few minutes, her small voice broke the silence. Why are you helping me? She asked. Adrian paused. He wasn't sure how to answer. Because no one else did, he said finally. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she whispered, "Thank you." Her eyes closed, and soon her breathing grew steady. She had fallen asleep, clutching her doll. Adrian remained awake, his mind wandered back to her words. Mom said wait here. He wondered what had driven the woman to abandon her child. Was it desperation, fear, or something worse? Whatever the reason, he knew Lily couldn't return to that bench again. As the night passed, Adrian made a decision. Tomorrow he would call the authorities. Maybe even hire private investigators to find her mother. But no matter what, Lily wouldn't be left alone again. He leaned back in the chair, looking at the small figure sleeping soundly on the bed. For the first time in years, Adrian Cole, the rich CEO who lived only for business, felt a new sense of purpose forming inside him, and in that quiet hotel room, he realized that meeting Lily had already changed something in him forever. 2 morning lights slipped through the hotel curtains. The room was quiet except for the soft breathing of Lily, still curled up on the bed with her doll pressed close. Adrian sat in the same chair by the window, his jacket draped over the armrest. He hadn't slept much. His mind had been turning over the same thoughts all night. What to do with this child who had been left at a train station for 3 days? When Lily finally stirred, she blinked at the unfamiliar room. For a moment, panic flickered across her face. Then she saw Adrian sitting there and relaxed slightly. "Good morning," Adrian said, his voice calm. Lily rubbed her eyes. "Is Mama here?" The question struck him like a blow. He shook his head gently. "Not yet. But we're going to try to find her." Her small shoulders slumped, but she didn't cry. She picked up her doll and hugged it tight. Adrian noticed again how strong she was for someone so young. Breakfast arrived by room service: eggs, toast, fruit, and warm milk. Lily stared at the tray in awe. It was more food than she had seen in days. Adrian encouraged her. "Go ahead, eat." She climbed onto the chair and began eating slowly, carefully, as if she didn't want to waste anything. Adrian sat across from her, studying her manners. Even in hunger, she didn't grab or rush. She ate with quiet patience, like someone who knew the value of every bite. After breakfast, Adrian made a few phone calls. His assistant brought him updates on meetings he was supposed to attend. But Adrian pushed them aside. "Reschedule everything," he ordered. For once business could wait. He contacted a private investigator he trusted, a man who handled delicate matters discreetly. "I need you to find someone," Adrian said. "A woman. She left her child at the central station 3 days ago. The girl's name is Lily. Start with security cameras, witness accounts, anything." The investigator didn't question him. "Understood." Adrian hung up and turned to Lily. She sat quietly on the edge of the bed, her doll in her lap. "We're going to look for your mother," he told her. "But while we search, you'll stay with me. Is that okay?" Lily tilted her head thinking, then she nodded slowly. "As long as Mama can find me." Adrian gave a faint smile. "I'll make sure of it." They left the hotel and drove back toward the city. In the car, Lily gazed out the window at the tall buildings and busy streets. Her small hand rested on the glass, tracing shapes only she understood. Adrian watched her from the other side, wondering what she must be thinking. The investigator called later in the day. "We pulled the footage from the station. The mother was last seen leaving through the west exit 3 nights ago. She hasn't returned since." "Did she take a train?" Adrian asked. "No record, she just walked out alone." Adrian felt his jaw tighten. He glanced at Lily, who was humming softly to her doll, unaware of the call's details. "Keep looking," he told the investigator. "Find out who she is, where she went." When the call ended, Adrian sat back in silence. Part of him hoped the woman would return with a reasonable explanation. Another part feared she had abandoned Lily for good. By afternoon, he took Lily to a small park. Children played on swings and slides, their laughter filling the air. Lily stood at the edge, clutching her doll. She looked unsure, as if she had forgotten how to be a child in a place like this. "Go on," Adrian said softly. "It's okay." She hesitated, then slowly walked toward the swings. A girl her age invited her to join. Soon, Lily was swinging gently, her face lighting up with a smile Adrian hadn't seen before. He stood back, watching. For the first time, Lily looked like a normal child again. But the sight also filled him with a strange ache. He realized how much she had missed in just a few days: safety, comfort, laughter. When she grew tired, Adrian guided her back to the car. "Did you have fun?" he asked. Lily nodded. "I felt like Mama was watching me." Adrian's throat tightened. But he didn't correct her. "She'd be happy to see you smile," he said instead. That night they stayed at another hotel. Adrian sat working on his laptop while Lily drew pictures on a piece of paper he had given her. She sketched a stick figure of herself holding hands with her mother. Beside them, She drew a tall figure in a suit. She pointed at it proudly. That's you. Adrian stared at the drawing longer than he should have. He wasn't used to being included in anyone's picture, let alone a child's. Why me? He asked softly. Because you waited with me, Lily replied simply. Her words cut deeper than he expected. It was true, no one else had stopped for her, no one else had cared. When Lily finally drifted to sleep, Adrian closed his laptop and looked at her peaceful face. Something inside him shifted again, stronger this time. He had stepped into her life by chance, but now he wasn't sure he could ever step out. Tomorrow, the search for her mother would continue. But tonight, he made a silent vow no matter what they discovered, he wouldn't let Lily be alone again. And as he sat there in the quiet hotel room, Adrian Cole, the rich CEO who had always lived only for himself, realized that this small girl with tired blue eyes had already become the center of his world. The next morning, Adrian woke before sunrise. He wasn't used to restless nights, but his thoughts had been filled with questions he couldn't shake away. Lily was still asleep, curled under the blanket with her doll tucked safely against her chest. For a moment, Adrian simply stood at the window, looking out at the city skyline, wondering how a child so young had survived 3 days alone in a train station. When Lily stirred awake, she blinked at him sleepily. Is it time to go find Mama? She asked immediately. Adrian nodded. Yes, we'll keep looking. After breakfast, he dressed her in clean clothes he had bought late the night before, simple jeans and a warm sweater. The way her face lit up when she saw the new outfit made something inside him ache. She hugged the sweater close as if it was the most precious gift she had ever received. They left the hotel, and Adrian's driver took them back toward the city center. His investigator had arranged a meeting with station security to go over the footage again. In the car, Lily kept her eyes on the passing streets, whispering to her doll as though explaining the world around her. Adrian listened quietly, fascinated by her small voice filling the silence. At the station office, the investigator showed him a video on the monitor. The grainy footage displayed Lily and her mother 3 nights ago. Her mother had guided her to the bench, kissed her forehead, and whispered something. Then, without looking back, she walked quickly out of the west exit and vanished into the dark. Lily leaned closer to the screen, her small hand touching the glass. That's Mama, she whispered. Her eyes shone with a mixture of relief and confusion. She said she would come back. Adrian's throat tightened. He crouched beside her. Yes, that's her. And we're going to find out where she went. The investigator spoke carefully. Sir, we traced her leaving the station. Cameras on the next street caught her entering a building, then nothing. We're still checking hospitals and shelters. Adrian nodded firmly. Keep digging. I want answers fast. Back in the car, Lily sat quietly, her earlier hope dimming. Adrian glanced at her and forced his voice steady. We'll find her, Lily, I promise. She nodded, but she didn't smile. She pressed her doll against her face as though hiding behind it. To distract her, Adrian suggested they stop at a small cafe. Inside, Lily's eyes widened at the glass display filled with cakes and pastries. She pointed shyly to a chocolate muffin. Adrian ordered it for her along with coffee for himself. Watching her eat with delight softened the weight pressing on his chest. Do you go to school, Lily? He asked gently. She shook her head. Mama said maybe when we have more money. Adrian's jaw tightened again. Education was something he had taken for granted, yet here was a child who saw it as a distant dream. He didn't reply, but in his mind he was already thinking of solutions. After lunch he took her to a bookstore nearby. Shelves stretched high above her. And she wandered slowly between them, her fingers brushing across the covers. She stopped at a small section of children's books and picked one up carefully, as if afraid it might break. Do you like books? Adrian asked. Lily nodded. Mama used to read to me sometimes. He bought the book for her without hesitation. On the drive back, Lily sat with the book in her lap, tracing the letters with her finger. Adrian realized it might be the first book she had ever owned. That evening, the investigator called again. We've found a lead. The mother may be connected to a shelter on the east side. She was seen there once before. We're checking if she returned. Adrian listened in silence, then glanced at Lily, who had fallen asleep against the car seat. Keep me updated, he said, lowering his voice so she wouldn't hear. When they reached the hotel, Adrian carried Lily inside, careful not to wake her. He placed her gently on the bed, her doll still clutched in her arms. For a long moment he stood there, watching her peaceful face. Something had changed inside him over these days. At first, he had stopped because of curiosity then compassion. But now, it was different. He felt responsible for her. More than that, He felt protective in a way he had never felt for anyone before. Later that night, while Lily slept, Adrian sat at the desk and opened his laptop. He typed an email to his legal advisor, asking discreet questions about guardianship laws. If Lily's mother didn't return, what options would there be? Could he take responsibility for her officially? He didn't know why he was even considering it. His life was structured, busy, demanding. He had never imagined himself as a parent. Yet when he looked at Lily, he saw something more important than all his meetings and contracts combined. When he finally shut the laptop, he whispered to himself, "You're not going back to that bench. Not ever again." The room was silent except for the steady breathing of the little girl sleeping safely under his care. And for the first time in his life, Adrian Cole, the man who had built his empire on numbers and power, felt that maybe his future had just taken a turn he never expected. The following morning, sunlight filtered through the blinds of Adrian's penthouse. Lily stirred awake on the guest room bed, clutching her doll. For a brief moment, she forgot where she was. Then the memory returned: warm food, a safe bed, and the man who had helped her. She sat up slowly, unsure if this comfort was real or just another passing dream. Adrian knocked softly before entering. "Good morning, Lily," he said, his voice calmer than usual. He carried a tray with toast, scrambled eggs, and a glass of orange juice. Lily blinked at the food. "Is this for me?" "Yes," Adrian replied, setting the tray beside her. "You should eat." She hesitated before picking up the toast. Her small hands trembled. She ate slowly, almost cautiously, as though the meal might vanish if she rushed. Adrian watched silently, his chest tightening at how carefully she savored every bite. When she finished, she looked up at him with wide eyes. "Thank you." He nodded. "You're welcome." For Adrian, mornings usually began with emails and conference calls. Today his schedule was empty by choice. He had told his assistant to cancel all meetings. Lily mattered more. "Do you want to take a shower? Get cleaned up?" he asked gently. She nodded. "But I don't have clothes." Adrian paused, realizing the truth of her words. "Then we'll get you some." He guided her toward the bathroom, showing her how to use everything. While she bathed, Adrian stepped away and made a call to his assistant. "I need children's clothes delivered here immediately. Size small for a girl around 7 or 8. The assistant hesitated. "Sir, is this personal?" Adrian's tone hardened. "Just do it." By the time Lily stepped out wrapped in a towel, a bag of clothes had arrived. She picked a soft pink dress from the pile, hugging it close before slipping it on. When she came out, Adrian noticed how different she looked. No longer just a frightened child from the train station, but a little girl who finally belonged somewhere. "You look nice," he said, and though his words were simple, they carried weight. Lily gave a small smile. It was the first genuine smile he had seen from her. The day stretched ahead. Adrian wasn't sure what to do. He was a man of business, not fatherhood. But Lily needed normalcy, so he improvised. He took her to a quiet park. She held his hand tightly as they walked, looking around at the children playing. She watched them longingly but didn't move toward them. "Don't you want to play?" Adrian asked. She shook her head. "I don't know them." Adrian sat with her on a bench, letting her watch. For once, he didn't rush her. He simply sat by her side, present. As the afternoon passed, they bought ice cream. Lily giggled softly when the cold treat touched her tongue, the sound surprising Adrian. He couldn't remember the last time something so small had made him feel at peace. Later they returned home. Lily grew quiet again, sitting by the window with her doll. Adrian approached. "What are you thinking?" She hugged the doll tightly. "I'm thinking about Mama. What if she's still looking for me?" Adrian felt the weight of her question. "If she is, we'll find her," he promised. Her eyes searched his face as if testing whether she could trust his words. Slowly she nodded. That night, after tucking her into bed, Adrian stood in the doorway longer than he intended. The sight of her asleep stirred something unfamiliar in him. Responsibility, protectiveness, and a deep, aching need to keep her safe. As he finally turned away, Adrian realized that his life had shifted. The empire he had built, the fortune he had amassed, none of it felt as important as making sure this little girl never had to sleep hungry or alone again. And though he didn't fully understand why, he knew one thing with certainty. Lily was no longer just a child he had found at a station. She was now a part of his life, and he couldn't walk away. The next morning dawned brighter than the previous ones, though Adrian barely slept. His mind had been spinning all night, filled with thoughts of Lily and the heavy responsibility that had quietly fallen onto his shoulders. He wasn't used to this, taking care of another human being, let alone a child, but something inside him had shifted. When he entered the kitchen, Lily was already sitting at the table, her doll in her lap. She looked up as he came in, her eyes uncertain but more hopeful than they had been before. "Good morning," Adrian said softly. "Good morning," she whispered, almost shyly. He placed a bowl of cereal in front of her, then sat down with his own coffee. For a moment silence filled the space, but it was no longer uncomfortable. It felt like the quiet of a home. Something Adrian had never truly experienced. After breakfast, Adrian took her to a children's clinic to make sure she was healthy. The doctor's gentle manner helped put Lily at ease. When the doctor confirmed that she was underweight but otherwise fine, Adrian exhaled a breath he didn't know he was holding. He silently vowed that she would never go hungry again. On the drive back, Lily stared out the window. "Do you think Mama is okay?" she asked suddenly. Adrian tightened his grip on the steering wheel. "I don't know, Lily. But we'll keep looking. You're not alone anymore." Those words seemed to soothe her. She rested her head against the seat and closed her eyes. Over the next few days, life found an unexpected rhythm. Adrian rearranged his schedule, cutting back on meetings and asking his team to handle what they could. To his surprise, the world didn't collapse without his constant oversight. Instead, he found himself spending afternoons in the park with Lily, helping her with puzzles, reading stories, and listening to her timid laughter grow more confident. One evening, she asked him something that caught him off guard. "Why do you live all alone in such a big house?" Adrian paused. "Because I thought I didn't need anyone. And now." She tilted her head. He looked at her, realizing the truth as he spoke it. "Now I'm not so sure." Lily gave him a small, knowing smile, the kind only children can give, the kind that tells you they see more than you think. As the days turned into weeks, Adrian faced a decision he had been avoiding. He had searched for Lily's mother, hiring private investigators, combing through shelters, hospitals, and police reports. The truth was painful: her mother had disappeared, leaving no trace. One night after Lily had gone to bed, Adrian sat alone in his study. The city lights glittered beyond the windows, but for once, they didn't impress him. He stared at the adoption papers on his desk. The thought of making it official, of becoming Lily's guardian, scared him. What if he failed her? What if he wasn't enough? Yet, when he remembered her fragile voice asking, "Do you think Mama is okay?" he knew he couldn't abandon her. The following morning, he told her gently, "Lily, I haven't found your mother. But if you'd let me, I'd like to take care of you. Not just for now, but always." Her eyes widened. "You mean like a family?" "Yes," Adrian said. "Like a family." For a long moment, Lily just stared at him, as if her heart was too scared to believe. Then, slowly, she nodded. Tears glistened in her eyes, but they were not the tears of fear. They were tears of hope. Weeks later, they stood together in a courtroom. The judge reviewed the documents, looking between Adrian and Lily. Finally, the gavel struck. "Adrian Blake, you are now the legal guardian of Lily Carter." The sound echoed through the room, final and powerful. Lily grabbed Adrian's hand tightly, her face lighting up with the purest smile he had ever seen. Walking out of the courthouse, Adrian bent down to her level. "Are you ready to go home?" Lily squeezed his hand. "I already am home, with you." Those words pierced him deeper than any deal, any fortune, any success ever had. He realized then that this little girl had saved him as much as he had saved her. That night, as Adrian tucked Lily into bed, she whispered, "Mom said, wait here," but I think she meant wait until someone came who wouldn't leave. Adrian's throat tightened. He brushed her hair gently and said, "Then she was right." He turned off the light, but long after Lily had fallen asleep, Adrian sat by the door, realizing his life had found its missing piece. The girl he once found at a train station had become his daughter, his family, his reason to finally live for something greater than himself. And as the city slept, Adrian whispered to himself, "This is what home feels like." Dear viewers, this story reminds us that family is not always about blood, but about love, care, and the courage to stand by someone who needs us most. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories of kindness and hope. Thank you so much for giving your precious time. Your support means the world.